Hey friends, it's Sarah. It's March 13th, and I decided to record a video for you guys. First of all, wait for it. Oh, this is a stack of books that I have written over the past 6 years, and there's a lot of new people. There's more than 1,000 people watching the videos. There's only like 480 something subscribers. So I guess some of you are too embarrassed to hit subscribe, but you watch it anyway. Kuthumi says that some of you don't know me, and I've been getting a lot of emails like asking me questions, like just really basic questions. And so instead of answering each email, I thought, hey, we'll just record a video and I can answer all those questions. I'll just start with the really basic stuff. Like, I'm getting questions like, were you born in a shell? Did you come into a shell body like Tobias? Yes, I did. I came into this body about 4 years old, and I write about it in my first book, which we've actually decided to re-release. So this is the hardback. Forgive the not for resale sign. I just ordered a proof copy. So the first chapter of this is books 1 and 2 combined into one. So it's kind of fat. And the first chapter of the first book I ever wrote is called I Exist. And I talk about being 4 years old under the table in my family's house, and my parents were yelling and arguing, and I was hiding under the table. And that's when I came into my body in this life. I was about 4 years old, and I just knew I exist. And I realized, okay, I'm back in a body. I'm in another lifetime. But I was also aware of all my other lifetimes when this was happening. And from a cartoon character story perspective, just to give your mind something, I'm an ascended master who came back to Earth to make some things right that I didn't finish in my so-called last lifetime, my designated ascendee lifetime. This is not my designated ascendee lifetime. I actually experienced realization after the fall of Atlantis, and then again in my I lived from 1898 to 1996. That's one of my simultaneous lifetimes. Her name was Anola. I write about her in some of my books. I talk about Anola in the 30 Days of Self-Love. She experienced her realization. When I feel into who I am, remember who you are. I don't experience like past lives and future lives. I do have lives in a past timeline and in a future timeline, but all of what full luminosity is all of the lifetimes and unlifetimes are realized. So every single lifetime is realized, and there's not the story of, this is my last lifetime, I had my realization, I'm done with everything, and then it's over and done, and I completed my mission. Because that's a really useful story. Oh my God, it's so useful. You need to have something for the human before it understands what new energy is, something for it to aim for. The human needs a goal. The mind needs a problem to solve. Okay, that's what we're doing. We're doing realization. This is my last lifetime. Then I can go to the Ascended Masters Club. It's all really useful. And someone sent me a message saying that I'm at war with Shambra. I'm totally not. I am pushing up against the consensus reality that realization is all there is. So I went through realization again in this lifetime. And when I went through it, I realized, okay, I've been doing this a lot in a lot of lifetimes. I've got this. And it's such a beautiful experience after I went through it. It's heart-wrenching. It's messy. It's the fire-breathing dragons in your face, incinerating you. And the whole time that was happening. And I was like, oh. I was also like, wow, this is such a cool experience. You know, I do this over and over and over again. So, dear Instagram follower with all the rainbows, hearts, butterflies, unicorns, I am not at war with Shaumbra. Your divinity's in the darkness. Do not be afraid of your own darkness. You can't do any of this stuff without going into the darkness. If you're just constantly trying to do the rainbows and butterflies and heart emojis, blinking hearts, it's not, you know, so you're just afraid of the darkness. It's not about me. I get a lot of feedback that's not about me. I'm not at war with anybody. However, I mean, if I were at war with someone, it would be the consensus reality that realization's the end. The realization is the beginning. Don't sell yourself short. That's what I'm really trying to say. I'm not mad at anybody. I'm not at war with anybody, but don't sell yourself short. You can go further to really shine your light on earth, which is, I know you guys have a deep, deep passion for shining your light. You integrate the designated ascendee lifetime. The designated ascendee, the lifetime that you think you're in right now, you believe you're in your last lifetime. It's a belief. Beliefs can be really created. You believe you're in your last lifetime, you believe you're having your realization, and you believe that's it. So that designated ascendee lifetime is going to get you that realization. But once you have the realization, you go, oh, wait a second, I'm actually so much more than this last lifetime. And so you get to have the experience. So no, I'm not at war with Shaumbra. Dear unicorn hearts and rainbows, I just want you to know there's so much more for you to experience. So this book is really unique because when I was going from realization and from awakening to realization, which is a very strong belief system story that most of you still have, I couldn't find any books written by the human perspective. You know, you have the Mujis and the Adyashantis. Adyashanti is one of my favorite people on earth. I'm so pleased to share earth with someone as amazing as him, and his lovely wife too. They didn't write down the messy stuff. He tells some stories, but no one talks about what it took to get to their realization or their enlightenment. Kuthumi does it through channelers. And that's another question I'm going to answer. So I wrote it down, you know, I said I'll read the back. And it says, and often people ask me, where do I start? There's so much. You can start here. It's really easy to read. I wrote it in a narrative story form. So my life fell apart at age 30. I lost my father, my career, my husband. When the future looked uncertain and downright terrifying, I turned to the magic of my childhood. I went back to when I came into this shell body, age 4. I exist. I am that I am. I exist. I am that I am has nothing to do with the last lifetime. It's the only real truth there is. Everything else is just a story. And stories aren't bad. I get that a lot. I have no more stories left. I have succeeded. It's like, dude, we're having fun at this point, right? And there's a beautiful story about your last lifetime in which you experienced realization. And it is just a story, but it's also really, really beautiful. I call them storyless stories. So I wrote down my story of realization from the perspective of a human being called Lauren, who, you know, I don't identify with anymore, choosing self-realization. It was what was missing when I was going through the return to self, which is what I call realization. I really wanted to read a book about what it felt like to go through the experience. So I couldn't find one, so I wrote one. I'm a very good writer. I wrote it down to remind you, you are not alone. You are not going crazy. Your inimitable self is simply knocking on your human's door. Now's the time to answer it. So I could never write this now. I don't identify with Lauren, the character in the book. So it was like I had to have that human expression, that really strong human designated ascendee choosing realization to write this book. But once I went through realization, well, let's be honest, Kuthumi's like, tell him the junk too. So I had my realization in 2017 and it was really beautiful. But what happened after was about 2 years of severe dragon clarity and the incineration and the I am forgiveness, the unrelenting forgiveness of the I am, not the soul, but the I am, I exist, of consciousness. Soul is simply energy. Energy is the symphony singing to you, and consciousness is the I exist, what everything radiates out from that. And energy is just singing back to the consciousness. So your soul is just singing back to the I am that. These days, everyone has a pronoun, a he, she, they. I'm a that. I am that. That is my pronoun. So, yes. So I had an ascended master named El Moria, who was kind of like my sponsor in this lifetime to really support me in coming back to Earth and making another lifetime to finish some business that we failed. We felt a lot of guilt and shame. So towards the end of Atlantis, Moria and I were the part of the panel, the committee, the group that decided to hit the button to end that civilization with the floods, to wash it out. And when we did so, we closed the doorways to all of creation, because there was this outside influence that was trying to come in and take over our beloved home called Earth. And so Moria and I, after the fall of Atlantis, we washed up on the shores of, I guess modern day country is called Wales, like England area, Ireland area. We washed up on the shore, and there we were, alive after the flood. And we said, oh my God, we felt so bad. I can't believe all these people died. We had to wash away this whole civilization, and we had to close the passageways to all of creation. So Moria was kind of my sponsor, and starting in 2019-ish, like starting after I had my realization and I felt steady in it, Moria said, okay, I'm coming back to Earth to finish this out. And I said, okay. And he kept telling me for several years that he was leaving. And then I went to India with him and myself. It looked like I was traveling alone, but I wasn't. And we had to allow the I am forgiveness for the two of us together and all the lifetimes we spent together. Now, I had done individual I am forgiveness a lot. I'm still doing it. It doesn't end. I am forgiveness is something that applies to the linear future. And Maury had done it for himself in his last lifetime, such a story, in the late 1800s, but we had to do it for each other, with each other. So that was interesting, dragging clarity for a couple. But when Morgia left, and it was at the very beginning of 2020 that he left, he showed up in my hotel room in a physical form, and he said, okay, I'm leaving now, but I'm not going to leave you alone. Kuthumi's going to take care of you. And I thought it was kind of funny because it's like, I don't need a babysitter, but actually I really kind of do, because it gets really lonely. I am used to being with all of my buddies, all of my Yeshuas and Mary Magdalenes and everything else. So yes, actually really appreciate it. So Kuthumi stepped in 2020, and it was fun, but he really came in and said, okay, you're not where you need to be. Dear realized Lauren, you're not where you need to be. We've got to integrate your realization. And once you're a realized being and you have like a lot of the standard Schomburg operating system, I'm a master. No, it's really hard to hear. Oh, by the way, now you have to integrate your realization lifetime. And I think that's why people send me ugly notes, is because that's like a lot for them. They're like, oh my God, we have to do something else. And it's like, or you could go into it thinking, oh my God, I get to know myself as God also while holding a physical form. I really don't get why people get so angry at me and think I'm waging a war. All I'm saying is there's so much more. And if you don't want to do that, then don't watch anything I share. If you just want to be rainbows and unicorns and hold hands, kumbaya, and have a countdown to heaven's cross on your Instagram page, fine. Don't come here. I'm not at war. I'm not at war. But yeah, so Kuthumi did some like, okay, here's the deal. He also came into my business and was like, look, you're not making enough money. You just give, 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 give. And the people you're giving to don't necessarily reciprocate. And he said I was doing it out of Atlantean guilt for the fall of Atlantis and the closing of what you guys are calling Heaven's Cross, what we call the fourth P, passageways to all of creation. You know, and Kuthumi, since 2020, he's been saying, hey, we're going to start opening up the passageways to all of creation again. So we weren't like blindsided by this announcement. Oh, there's Heaven's Cross and it's going to solve all our problems. Not that Adamus is saying that. That's just the consensus reality. So Kuthumi's been preparing me, but it's, you know, it hasn't been pleasant. Your divinity's in the darkness. It's like everything that the human is still grasping onto, the concept of a realization. In the end, realization is just like awakening. It's like, okay, there's another wave to surf. And nobody wants to that. But, you know, Kuthumi worked with me and was like, and you're teaching what you share and teach, and all these books are out of Atlantean guilt. And, you know, allowing people to step all over me, Atlantean guilt. People come to the website, grab, or when I used to do one-on-one sessions, they'd come and dump, and I would take it because of Atlantean guilt. So it's something that I haven't figured all the way out. I'm learning. And I've gotten several emails about Heaven's Cross and how I feel about it. For me, I'm here because I felt really, really guilty and shameful about having to close the doorways to all of creation with Moria. Moria felt really, really guilty about it too. No one is harder on themselves than Moria and myself. And so as we get closer to March, what's the date for you guys? March 22nd is your date. As we get closer and people are believing in the opening of Heaven's Cross, which allows it to open, beliefs are not bad, they're creative. You just got to be sure you're conscious of what beliefs you're believing in. So as it gets closer, that shame, guilt and shame, and having to take in the impact of people dumping their crap. I've been taking on the crap of other people, especially people choosing realization, Shambra, the people who send me the emails that they're constantly needing me to do something or be something for them. The closer we get to Heaven's Cross, the more I feel like I don't owe anybody anything based on the decisions that Moria and I made for all of humanity, at the fall of Atlantis. So that self-worth and that no more, and I don't owe you anything. The closer we get, the deeper it runs for me. You know, and the ways in which I have absorbed the garbage from people around me is starting to really change. The closer we get to the opening of these passageways to all of creation, which for me is inside and deeply personal. So I'm sharing a deeply personal thing with you, is that I realize because of the guilt and shame I feel for how Atlantis ended, as the doorways open back up, my self-worth comes in more, and I'm able to say, hey, you can't dump that here, and you can't talk to me this way. Yeah. So in our newest book, The Era of the Magus, I talk about turning that guilt into passion. there's a chapter towards the end where I talk about my lifetime as Amaryssus, which she was a lake, not a person. I had a lifetime as a lake in Avalon. And Moria played the role of King Arthur. But I talk about turning that passion. I also have a chapter on the return of the realm walkers. Not workers, walkers, realm walkers, the return of the realm walkers. I put it out ages ago. I don't copy Crimson Circle. Crimson Circle copies me. If you ask anybody who's been with the materials long enough, it's like, we already did that, which is fine. We have to have a small group of people who are willing to really go further, and then it can hit the mainstream. Oh, yeah, Lady of the Lake. We talk all about going beyond the standardization of the human body, which is also something I participated in. So anyhow, brand new book. It's very, very good. It's very, very further. I often get emails about what's my relationship to the Crimson Circle. So when I had my full-blown awakening in 2012, Moria came in and showed me, we went through I Am Forgiveness and Dragon Clarity, in 2013. I'd never heard of the Crimson Circle. I had a boyfriend in Spain in 2015, and he showed me Shoud in 2015. I write about it in my first book. This one. There's so many. But he introduced me to the Crimson Circle through a Shoud, and it was, you've hit the glass ceiling on God. It wasn't about you're in your last lifetime, here's your realization. It was Adama saying, hey, you guys, you've hit the glass ceiling on God. And it was everything I've ever known to be true in my DNA strands. So I fell in love with it. And then I wanted to do everything. So the first real Crimson Circle event I went to was the Threshold event. And I realized, oh, this is what Moria taught me. And so I started to realize that I was there to pretend to be not realized and do the coursework to really add my energy and consciousness to it. And so I did. And then so for 3 years, and I even moved to Colorado and went to every Shoud. I went to every Shoud for 2 years. I never was handed a microphone. I was not liked there. I was irritating. And after my realization, I went to a Shoud, and there was a woman grabbing onto my shirt sleeve, yanking my shirt, saying, when am I going to have my realization? And that's when I realized my energy here is not helping. I am not in the right place. And in 2018, because my partner wanted to go at the time, I went to the Magic of the Merlin event. And after the event, I was at a bar with several friends having a glass of wine, and a member of the staff pushed me off a bar stool, and I was minding my own business, not in a conversation, and I'm not mad, and it was my own energy telling me, hey, it's time to get out of here. Everybody in the bar watched it happen, and they said nothing until after the fact, and they said, oh, that was really not nice. That was really weird. What was that? But they didn't say anything at the time. And it was just very Atlantean, where you put the needs of the group ahead of your own individual needs. But anyhow, it was a great gift. Someone literally pushed me out. It was a great gift. And I realized I'm just not in the right place. So after that, in 2018, after that, I kept doing Keyhawk. I'm not going to do it anymore. I needed to be there until these passageways opened up so I could fulfill my promise to myself to open these passageways back up when it was safe, when there's enough people embodying consciousness on Earth. That's the only way we can do this. And so I spent 2020, 2021, 2022, and now we're in 2023. So, we're getting into year 4 with Kuthumi. Every single day with Kuthumi for him, preparing me to be a better teacher and a better facilitator, and to really move through this Atlantean guilt that he also experienced. So I'm not taking on the crap anymore. I was not in the temples of Tien. I'm not a Shambra necessarily. I was a daughter to Yeshua and Mary Magdalene as consciousness on earth. When they were alive, I held a leadership role in Atlantis. I put the headband on, but it didn't work on me. So I was around everybody else going through the programming, but it didn't work on me. And then I spoke at the end of Atlantis, I spoke up against the standardization of the human biological form, and the people in the temples of Tien ripped my voice box out. So Atlantean memories. I until after about 2 weeks after my initial realization, I began to have all the memories of Atlantis come back. And I know that I didn't have them before realization because my human would not have been able to handle it. So this is all just me being really, really honest with you, answering your questions, telling you I'm not at war with anybody. I have allowed forgiveness for Shamba ripping my voice box out. It's funny now. And the standard up biological form, I've allowed forgiveness for having to flood Atlantis. I have forgiven Moria for everything he did to me in every lifetime. None of this is easy. And I really understand why people don't necessarily love me unless they really have a passion for this Magi experience. The Magi has to integrate the realization last lifetime. Moria used to always say, don't call me a master. The title's far too limiting. So that realization identity, the humans never realized, and I know you know that, but your human doesn't know that. So the realization identity has to crumble. The idea that you were ever a master crumbles. The idea that you have different parts and pieces of yourself that talk to each other crumble. The idea that you're a soul crumbles. I mean, it's a lot. So I'm not for the dabblers. It's not. I had someone in the Patreon page leave because they needed to focus on their job. They were doing a desk job, and they didn't have enough time to do Patreon anymore. It's like, okay, so focus on your desk job, focus on whatever you're doing. Yeah. What other questions do I have? So I answered the question, what's your relationship to Crimson Circle? Mind you, I think that Shambra coming back in this lifetime to undo the stuff that they feel really bad about in Atlantis, even though no one did anything wrong. It was all a big mistake, misunderstanding. I honor that so much. I think the materials and the sacrifice that the Crimson Circle staff have made to put all the materials out is incredible. No matter how I was treated or whatever else, I can see beyond that. I also, if your husband beats you, you should leave him. After a while, you just go, okay, I'm not going to get beat up anymore. I'm not wanted here. And energetic maturity is not traveling in spaces where you're not wanted. So the reason I had to pull out is because it was just a never ending cycle of abuse. So yeah, I forgive it. I honor it. I love it from afar. My commitment to be there, I fulfilled it for myself. And at the end of this key hook year, I will have fulfilled it completely. I've got all these books right here. Oh yeah, the other questions we asked, how do you perceive heaven's cross? I told you a little bit about my personal experience with it. Of really, the it's this deep energetic sensation that I made it right. We are making it right. Um, what's your relationship with Kuthumi? We've been in the background for 4 years working on a lot of materials. So, and then another question I get is, what are you doing like behind the scenes? So there's a program that I'm running right now called The Rhythm of Further, and it'll finish in June. And we are opening up the passageways to all of creation that are in the caverns of your beingness in a deeply personal way. So the people who are there were 32, now there's 28. People drop out, they just can't hang. And so once we finish The Rhythm of Further and open these passageways, open up and stay open, right? There's a lot of work being done behind the scenes, and Kuthumi and I are involved in all of it. We were at a Crimson Council meeting, meetings all like at the beginning of March, like every day was like another Crimson Council meeting. And are we going to close the council? Are we not? Are we going to close it? Are we not? And at one point they decided we're not closing the Crimson Council because there's not enough embodied beings on Earth. And Kuthumi said, wait a minute, we can walk the realm walkers back into their body on Earth right now. So then I spent a week with Kuthumi dream walking the dream walkers back into their body on Earth. And then the Crimson Council was able to say, okay, now we can close our doors, which has always been our goal. It's like, it's really time to hand it over to the humans on Earth. So I spent 2 weeks doing that and with Kuthumi. So, and then people ask, okay, what are you doing after The Rhythm of Further? I'm going to focus on my in-person events, and I'm not going to be running the online Zoom calls all the time. I don't want to spend my life on a Zoom call. I want to be out in the world. I love surfing. I love being in nature. I've been rewriting my DNA codes every day. I have no Lauren left. I mean, she's integrated. I didn't get rid of her, but there's no human Lauren. There's no realization Lauren in here. She integrated. So I'm in my full luminosity. I'm experiencing the Christ consciousness flowing through me, changing my DNA strands, being the new human species. I'm not at war with anybody. But the more I am luminous, the more I'm realizing the subtle ways in which people fed off of my light. And I'm having to rearrange that. So your work is never done, but you start to enjoy your work more. Kuthumi and I are equals and friends. I don't channel him like traditional channelers channel. I just can hear him in the same way I can hear you all. Next year, I'm going to be putting out another course called the Blue Rose School of Creation, where once all of your lifetimes are lit up and you're in your full luminosity, you can really begin to be a creator in your creation, in which you're in the simultaneous realities. And they were parallel realities, but self-contained. Here's a reality, here's a reality, here's a reality, here's a reality, here's a reality. But as the passageways to all of creation open up, you can connect the realities in a vertical way. So I can pull from one reality into this one, and another one can pull from this into this. And there's like an exchange happening in simultaneous realities. I'm my Atlantean self that's not in a standardized form. She's actually like, I know this sounds kind of weird, but she's like a 5-dimensional being. She doesn't have a standardized body, and it's not a heavy, dense matter like this one. There's no flesh to grab. I'm with her a lot, and we're rewriting the history of Atlantis. And she was the original Sarah. And I'm also Sarah, and there's a million other Sarahs. So I've been working with her a lot. So this Blue Rose School of Creation was actually a mystery school that I ran. I closed the doors to it a long time ago, but we're going to bring it in for the modern time in January. And we have Kuthumi and I are still going to run our events. I'm still working with Kuthumi until Moria gets here. When's he going to get here? I don't know. I'm able to really connect with him some days, and some days he's reaching out and I'm struggling to hear. I really feel like when the passageways to all of creation open up, I will be able to connect more with him, although he lives right here. And Katumi's a really good friend. Really good friend. So I have no desire to teach anything. I don't have any desire to work with people in their realization. It's exhausting. All you have to do is allow. How did I get where I am? I allowed. Nobody's going to be able to help you in a one-on-one session. The group facilitation I did for a while, we came together to rewrite the codes and do certain things together, but it's not helping them achieve something. I have no desire for that. I have no care if there's 200 people here or two. I have this deep passion for sharing certain things. I would never teach one course and then teach it over and over and over again. That's not who I am. I charge money because I spend money to put things out. Some people just really hate that, but yet they'll pay Crimson Circle thousands of dollars and then want my stuff for free. So screw you. But you know, my goal is not to be a big organization or anything, but I feel that there's more and more people coming who are going, okay, there's no one else talking really deeply about integrating the realization and having this full Magi experience. You know, I'm a resource for those who want it, but I'm not here to help you with your realization. I look at realization the way you look at New Age spirituality. It's the kiddie pool. And I know most people don't want to hear that, and then they get mad and say I'm waging a war. There's no war. I'm in my full luminosity. I'd like to see and experience life with other beings who are in their full luminosity. If people have the potential, the P for their full luminosity, I'm willing to put in the time and effort with them. Because we need a few more. I don't know, I just want to sit with you guys, answer some of the questions I've been getting. The loss of identity is something I know that's really, really hard for people. And there's so many things on our website that are for free to support you in the loss of the identity that is integrating your realization. We have the Art of Allowing, Tales of an Aspect Integrated, and Navigating the Void. I'm always navigating. You don't stop navigating. So if you want to learn to navigate instead of negotiate, because that's what the identity does. The identity negotiates experiences, and the I am God also navigates. So it's all there. You guys can keep sending me questions and I'll just answer them in a video. I'm not at war with anybody. I just have to push up. My job is to push up against a consensus reality that's limiting. A realization in the last lifetime is a very limiting experience. And I sent a note to a young woman, bright young woman, and I said, hey, you know, you're a younger, you know, somewhat Crimson Circle related, somewhat Shambra, you know, can you fathom that there's something beyond realization? You know, and she answered in words, but I felt the sensation. It's like deep down, she knows. She's saying people know, beings know there's more than realization, that it, and they kind of think it expands out beyond that. Or you have your realization and then you need to embody it. Really, truly, this designated ascendee integrates, just like you've integrated any other aspect. And so Leo will be working on some materials. We talk about it a lot in our books. I had to do it. You know, I had Kuthumi to hold my hand, but I had to do it, and it's not pleasant. So I understand why you wouldn't want to, you know, have to do something else. But in here, we talk about how to transmigrate from that designated ascendee lifetime into your full luminosity. I'm talking to Kuthumi. That's why I'm quiet. If you want to experience your full luminosity, if you want to experience the full Christ consciousness experience on earth, like Yeshua did, then I'm your gal. I can help you with that. So many beautiful things happening. I've been alone a lot. You know, I've swallowed a lot. And I know you guys know that feeling, right? To go to it. You guys felt it for mass consciousness. Mass consciousness has never, ever bothered me. Humans don't bother me. But to go to an event and be pushed, literally, physically pushed out of Crimson Circle was the loneliest thing that's happened to me, like in lifetimes. And you have to take that wound, and we all have one. Yours will be different than mine. You have to take that wound and you turn it into this passion. And from there, you allow your full luminosity. But you can't do it with an identity or a realized identity. The part of you that thinks it's realized has to go. The human part. But you take that wound, having your voice box cut out of Atlantis. You take that wound of the time of Yeshua. People just didn't get what he was trying to say. The kingdom is within. One cannot say, look here or look there, because behold, the kingdom is within you. You know, and people were still waiting for some external celestial event to happen at the time of Yeshua, and it didn't happen, and they were disappointed, this massive disappointment. They just didn't get it, right? So you take these wounds and these disappointments and you turn them into passion, and you're not waiting for something to happen out there. You begin to shine your light. I am the Christ consciousness. I am the second coming of Christ, and you are the second coming of Christ, and we all are. If you allow it, then you're not waiting for something to disappoint you. Then when someone kicks you out, literally physically pushes you out on your own into no man's land with nobody helping you or doing anything, that's being pushed out like that is how I got this. Having someone literally push me out of an organization and hitting that rock bottom. I'm honest about everything. I got nothing to hide. I talk about in the first chapter of this book, I talk about what a freaking wreck I was after my realization and being pushed out of this organization. I would not be where I am if they had not pushed me out. Dear person who pushed me out, thank you. Dear Temples of TM people who cut my voice box out, I learned to communicate without having to use words, sounds, anything. The greatest gifts I've ever been given have been the biggest disappointments in my life. I would not be where I was or where I am in my full luminosity, experiencing the Christ consciousness in this biological form and rewriting the entire biological system with each breath, every step, every wave that I surf. I would not be where I am without those disappointments. And I say this not to like toot my own horn, but I know you guys have these wounds and disappointments. And these dark spots, dear Instagram critic, with all your butterflies and rainbows, if you go into these dark parts of yourself and really accept them and play with them and touch them and feel the texture of what's going on there, that is how you will get into your full luminosity. To go into those darkest parts, because it's just the unknown, making the unknown known. And it creates this deep intimacy within yourself. And there's a tipping point in which you go, okay, one more lifetime's realized, and another more lifetime's realized. And my lifetime in Atlantis, actually, in one reality, my voice box was never cut out. They could actually hear what I was saying, and we could stop the torture that was happening to children, and there becomes a tipping point where it just all goes quantum. And you're not in each individual lifetime energetic imprint, simultaneous reality. It just all lights up. And you get to know yourself in a deeply, deeply intimate way. Some of you guys still think it's about improving yourself. And all we're doing here is being intimate with ourselves. All right. So I hope I answered some of your questions. There's no wizard behind the curtain here. There's no organization being run. I do my own website. I do my own Instagram. I'm not channeling a separate being and then I have my own private life. I don't have a private life. I don't have a professional life. It's all right here. There's no one directing any of this. This is just blood, sweat, tears, and a few volunteers. And an audacity to speak my own truth. And maybe some people need to hear it. And maybe some people think I'm at war. Kiss my ass. All right. After this big date of Abbott's Cross, no, as the passageways of all of creation open up within yourself in the next month, Kuthumi and I will come back with our playing with the peas in 2023. We're going to go through more potentials for the new human. But right now it's that deep dive into yourself. So we'll see you guys in April with the next of the playing in the peas in 2023. I am in love with you. And Kuthumi says, namaste on earth and all of creation.